Hi, I'm going to show you how to connect IoT data from SCLAB Studio. First, create a site. In the data editor, we have an MQTT broker and in SCLAB Studio. This is how we import data using the MQTT protocol. In the MQTT protocol, the broker and the client can send sensor data to the broker and send it to other clients. So if the client connects to the thermometer and sends the data to the broker, it will be published and publish the published signal to a topic called temperature. You can send that signal to other clients or subscribe to other clients. The broker's job is just to send the message, and the client can publish the message. The client can subscribe the message. The same client can publish the message and subscribe the message. This is the default way of doing MQTT. And in SCLAB Studio, we're using a protocol version 3.1.1. So we need sensor data to interface. But we can't directly interface with the sensor data. So we're going to interface with the actual sensor data using a service called Node-RED. So we're going to install Node-RED. We're going to install Node-RED using Docker. And as we run the script, it will install it. But before that, you need to install the Docker command line in advance, because Node-RED is now a tool to publish that data, and you can attach a lot of it to the actual sensors using Node-RED. You can bring the data directly to the sensor. Using a board like Raspberry Pi. If you use a node to pair the sensors, it's easier to do it without a lot of development. The node has been run. Let's see if it runs properly. So the node has been run. If we try to connect to it from the node, we need a broker. As you can see, we need a broker, but we need to create one first. In order to create a broker in SCLAB, if you come to the server page, there's the SCLAB IoT server. So you can create a topic here for that. And I'm just going to create a topic called temp. So I've got a topic here called temp 2. Because I'm using it, I'll use the host info, my client ID and password to connect to Node-RED. On the network side, you'll see that it says MQTT out. And you can go in and set it up with the MQTT protocol. You can go in and input new server information. Enter the name SCLAB IoT. Copy and paste the host info. Since we use MQTTS for ports, we use port number 8883 to send data to SSL for encryption. You need to check this. The protocol version is 3.1.1. For the client ID, you need to enter the user ID. That was designated here. Copy and paste it. And you can do whatever you want to your device ID. You can just say 1, or since it's Lord Red, you can say Lord Red 1. As long as you don't have the same client ID. As long as it's not the same ID, it doesn't matter. The same ID means if there's another Norderd, but they both say Norderd 1, they'll get disconnected and won't work properly. Now that I have the access information, I need to enter the user and password under security. For the user's ID, copy this and give me too much. Add it, select it, and for the topic, I created temp2. That's the topic. Fill it in as it is, and then you're done. When you deploy it from this state, once the connection is intact, it'll signal that it's connected. I'll give it a try. When I say I'm connected, that means I'm connected normally. So I'm going to create an actual data transfer here. So I'm going to create an inject. And then I'm going to create a function. In this function, I'm going to create a random number with the temp. And I'm going to send it to you. So what we're going to do is, we're just going to put a random number in the temp. We're going to put a date in the date. We're going to create a function that makes the data. And we're going to connect it. And I'm going to connect the debug to see if the actual data is going to be in the debug window. When it's connected, if I give a signal through a trigger, this function will run. And the data from that function will connect with an MQTT protocol called temp2 and send a signal to SCLAB. I'll take that signal, and SCLAB will be able to visualize the data. While I'm doing this, I'll click on deploy and give it a signal. If I press it once, the number 74 entered the temp. The date information was sent to the broker, and it was published. You can check this data at SCLAB. If you check SCLAB, you can see that by adding a SCLAB IoT server here, there is an MQTT broker at SCLAB. Here, it's added. If there's a broker on this side, not SCLAB IoT, you can enter broker information and connect to it. And the state is currently attached to it. So it comes online, and it says temp2, and now if I go look at the data, you can see that it says temp74, and I can see that the data that was generated over here was generated over here as well. So if I have another topic that I want to subscribe to, when you create a topic, temp2 will be a prefix. And you can add temp2a to it. But if you type in another prefix instead of temp2, it's going to disconnect you. Our broker is using that JSON Weskin authentication method. And there's a process that says, I can't subscribe to other topics because of these topics. And so my test logic is going to pull me out when other topics come in. So if you just create it in temp2, you're going to have a prefix that starts in temp2. And then you're going to add another topic. I subscribe to 2 topics. Temp2 contains data like this. And A contains data I'll make a chart with the data. There's only one data. So I'll select a topic when I create the data. If you want to show more data, you can change the number. If you use root pass and press the autofield button, it automatically brings the first field value to the data and creates rows. If temp is the temperature, you can just say temperature, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and set it to date. And I'm going to save it. And I'm going to get one piece of data. When you make a chart, select a chart method from the chart button and set the column data and row data to create a chart. If you want to see a chart, you can drag and drop the chart on top of the layer. When you add it, you can see that the data is synchronized in real time. You can set the time. Stamp to transfer data over and over again at 1 second. And the trigger will automatically run. Let's do it at 1 second. The data will be sent at 1-second intervals, in real time. This time, I will use the donut chart method. I have 20 different sizes. But if I select the last one, the last data value will be visible. If I don't, I can just set the last one. Select the last one. Click Conform. Configure the layout, drag and drop the jot. And you can see that the last piece of data is synchronized with the same data coming in. If you use a threshold function, you can receive an alert. If you want to receive an alert when the temp value is above 80, set it and save it. Publish it in the current state. I received an alert. But when I received 96, I received an alert. At that point, the data came in at 96. So it made an alarm. You can check it through the lamp here. But the way to do it is in the layout. Settings, select the chart. Where the threshold is set. And the lamp is set at the top right. If I activate it on, press OK. The only time the alarm comes in is when the value goes above 90. If it goes below 90, the lamp will go off. And it will keep repeating that. As the data continues to flow, it changes the request over and over again. Since the data is the last data, it has an alarm lamp here, and you can provide a lamp here as well. If you want to change the location, it will pop up here. By using interval settings, you can adjust the interval. But the interval is only a second apart. If it's 1 minute, the alarm will only go off once per scene. You want to set that up and publish it. I'm going to go ahead and type in the data. It's over 90, so I got an alert. But it's only taking pictures once. Even if it goes over 90. If it doesn't go over a minute, the number won't go up. When it goes over a minute. When it goes over 90. The alarm count will go up again. There are 2 alarms now. I received an alarm at 23:39 p.m. and an alarm at 23:40 p.m. and 19 seconds. Through the interview, we can prevent too many alarms. Regardless of the interview, the lamp turns on and off, depending on the value of the interview. In the case of an alarm, you can adjust the interval time by setting it up. That's the threshold-related description. And I can set a threshold action, so right now, for example, if it goes over 80, that threshold will be applied. And if that threshold is applied, if I want to change the area in layer 2, I can set the screen to turn into an action. Since I don't have any content, I'll make a map. Add a new map. Select the intermap map. Let's set the lamp's value to change to map. When the temp value exceeds 80, I'm going to set the paging. And I'm going to set layout 2 to change from map to map 1. And now it's going to tell me that my action has applied. And I'm going to create some data. Now we're past that threshold, and it hasn't changed because we're on the editor screen. And you have to go to the actual site to see if your action changes. So the action would be squared away in the actual site. So let's try that again. If your data shows up to a threshold and it doesn't action, it's because you're not publishing. We're publishing from the editor screen. And you've got to set up your intervals. It's set to a 1-minute interval, so when the alarm comes, the action will take place. But because it's set to a 1-minute interval, it will only run once a minute. Change the interval to 1 second. Change the publishing. And go back to the site. Yes, the value is 87. So the threshold has been applied. And the screen has been changed. If I refresh and run it again, the threshold has reached 83. So the layout has changed to map. Action works with notification. So depending on the interval settings, even if a lot of data is aligned in a short period of time, you can adjust the action. That's the layout change action. You don't have to change the layout like you do now, but you can also move the page or control the IoT device. You can do any of those, but if you want to move the page, let's create a page and move it to category 2. The navigation to the page is now using this thing called link to be able to navigate to it. You put the actual page in a category 2, and then you go to the new tab and the current tab, and you click OK. Save it again, and publish it. Now that we have 2 pages here, when a threshold comes in, the page will move. It moved to category 2 because it passed 87. So the page has been changed to category 2. I'm going to go ahead and hit 97 again. And now that I've hit 97 again, the page has moved. You can use IoT capabilities like this when you connect to your device later. There are people who have used Nordlert a lot, but you can connect to a lot of data directly here. You can use that to connect the sensors directly. You can collect them and shape them into whatever data you want. You can subscribe to SCLAB and create a chart. And we talked about thresholds and how you can use those thresholds to enable your actions. Thank you.